Greg, always great to have you on the show. And I have no dog in this hunt, and I cannot be more giddy for a game because of how good these two teams are. I can't imagine what you guys are feeling.
Yeah, it's a first of its kind game for BYU. Really, it's the first ever. And this kind of surprised me actually. First ever top 10 versus top 10 meeting in BYU football history. They've never been ranked in the top 10 and taken on a top 10 team at the same time ever until this weekend. So that's pretty cool.
Greg, just as far as kind of the anticipation, what's it felt like around Provo? I mean, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of folks traveling out to Lubbock, obviously a lot of stakes. Just kind of what's the mood and what's the confidence level? And just with this incredible start they're off to, how's Cougar Nation feeling?
Well, it feels a lot like last year. Last year, BYU was 8-0 going into November, coming off a bye week, and it's the very same situation this time around. A lot of similarities from last year to this year. Provo feels pretty normal. I think as much as people will head down there for sure, what's going to happen is BYU is going to draw from the state of Texas, as they always do when they get down there. What you'll always find is that, BYU, whenever they travel, yeah, some people come from this neck of the woods, but pretty much everywhere they go, the fans are already ensconced. They're already connected to BYU one way or the other, and they come out and they'll get whatever tickets they can find. It's going to be a hard ticket to get on Saturday, but I think BYU is going to have a good representation as they have it in every road game this season. In fact, ever since I've been doing this, it's one of the best things about this job is that wherever we go, wherever BYU goes, we'll find a lot of BYU blue in the stands. But back to your original point, yeah, very similar to the setup last year. There they were, 8-0. Going into the first or coming out of the first college football rankings of the season. Last year, BYU actually got to 9-0 before dropping back-to-back games and taking themselves out of the Big 12 title game hunt and out of the playoff. And that's the thing they hope to do this year is flip the script. And it's a tougher task this time around, though. Last year, they were finishing with a bad Utah team, Kansas, who they should have beaten. Arizona State was tough, and they lost to ASU, and then they beat Houston to finish off the year. This year, it's at Lubbock. It's home to TCU. It's at Cincy. And then you finish off with the game you should get against UCF, but a much different closing slate this year than last. But the same scenario exists, and that is go 3-1 and lock down a spot in Arlington. Last year, 2-2, didn't get it done. Yeah,
Greg, the fronts for both these teams are very good. That is the kind of key matchup. BYU did very well defensively and offensively up front against Utah, who is one of the best pass rushing teams in the country as well, as far as their quarterback pressures. Do you see a difference in having Romello Height and David Bailey on those edges compared to what Utah has?
Yeah, as good as John Henry Daly is, I think Texas Tech's guys are better. And so I think it's a tougher test. What did K-State run for this past week? I think $126. And that was the high water mark for the year against Texas Tech. And I'm not sure that BYU has to do a whole lot better than that to kind of be in the game, but they have to have some semblance of balance. That said, they did show they could throw it when they had to against Iowa State. And I think at this point, guys, the training wheels are off of quarterback Bear Bachmeier. He's no longer the true freshman quarterback. He's just the quarterback, and Aaron Roderick can open the entire book to him and have him do whatever it takes to get the job done. But it would help. It would help a great deal if they get a full game out of LJ Martin. He only played a little bit of the game at Iowa State, scored a rushing touchdown, then left due to injury. The bye week really helps BYU because of LJ Martin. And I'd be surprised if he doesn't play. The question will be, how well does he play? But he's a difference maker for BYU when he's back there. And against Texas Tech of all teams, you need a guy like LJ Martin, as the Red Raiders are the best rush defense in the country. I don't think BYU's offensive line gets enough credit for the help they've given Bear Bachmeier this year, but I really do like how they have a solid 7-man rotation up there, 7 guys who can get it done. And they've been, I think, one of the sub-stories of the year for BYU. Those 2 tackles, Isaiah Jada and Andrew Gentry, are as good as BYU's had in a bit, and they've been a big part of this year's success.
LJ Martin's Texas homecoming reminds me of like a lesson to teach people about how big the state of Texas is, because he's as far west as you can go out there in El Paso, and Lubbock's really far out west, but El Paso's still 5.5 hours away from Lubbock. That's just how big this state is. But very cool that he'll be available, and that is definitely a crucial piece of the puzzle for BYU. So glad he'll be available. You mentioned Bear. I mean, where do you start with him? I mean, if there's a 4th and 15, he's going to run for 16 up the gut on a read option and pick it up somehow. If you need him to make a play, he's going to make a play. What has impressed you most from what you've seen this year?
Well, just the fact that I don't think of him as a freshman anymore. He just hasn't done the things you expect freshmen to do. And so I couldn't be more impressed. I mean, first of all, physically, I mean, he really, for a true freshman, brings in a college-ready physical presence. His lower body's very strong. He's a very substantial-looking guy. And then the cerebral part of it is there. I think Aaron Roderick, the offensive coordinator, probably felt that he had to bring him along when the season began. How much can you actually ask him to do? But it wasn't too long before he realized he could give him a lot to do between the communication in the helmet, to the breaking out of the huddle, to the setting up of the team at the line of scrimmage. I think it wasn't too long before Aaron realized he can give him a lot. And to this point where Bear does everything you'd expect him to do from a guy, with 3 years of experience in the program. You're asking to do that with Bear Bachmeier. So I really don't know where to start or finish with the accolades with him. There is the cerebral part, the thoughtful, composed, very well put together, level-headed, kind of flatlining guy. He's not overly gregarious, but he's not retiring either. He's got a fun personality, but he's not looking out to make headlines. He's just a really solid dude. He committed to Stanford. His brother Tiger was already at Stanford. He's got the smarts to be that kind of guy. And then the competitive level, when you put him on the field, the switch flips and all the quiet, kind of reserved, cerebral characteristics kind of go out the window when it's time to make a first down. And he earns that 47 jersey number because he looks and plays like a linebacker when he gets past that line of scrimmage. And so I can't say enough about him. Super impressed. Can't believe he's only the age he is in his first year at college football. With his next rushing touchdown, and I think he's going to get one more rushing touchdown this year, he will tie the all-time BYU single-season quarterback touchdown rush record, which is pretty something as well.
Greg, they have cut down on the mistakes, the little things as well, the things that made some of the early games a little more heart-pounding, and kind of maybe even created some of that Bear Bachmeier magic of him being able to kind of get them out of a funk and lead them down on key drives. What do you think has been the key part of that to cleaning up the little things that they were doing wrong? Even though we're winning games, they've had some cardiac moments, especially early in the season.
Yeah, I mean, they've been turnover free in 5 of the 8 games. That's going to help you a great deal. I mean, you don't give the ball away, you're going to be in most games, and BYU's been really clean in 5 of the games, and minor mistakes in the others. I think there was a game where they had maybe 4 false starts, but that was an outlier game. They've been able to smooth off some of the rough edges. I think the cardiac nature comes from the way they've been putting themselves behind early in a couple of games, and yet they've proven that they can be in every game. Things don't have to go perfectly for them. Iowa State outgains them. I think Utah outgains them. They win both games. They kind of had a nice lead against Utah, had to come back big against Iowa State. They're kind of proving they can win every kind of game. Give them an hour delay at Arizona. Put them behind in that game, they'll find a way to come back. Take it to overtime, they'll find a way there. I just don't know that there's anything this team hasn't been able to prove to itself through 8 games yet. And then all ramps up to Texas Tech, because Texas Tech becomes the best team they've faced this season. I think Utah was a very good team. I think Iowa State on the road was a tough challenge. I don't think Iowa State played great against Arizona State the week after. I don't know if there was any letdown or a hangover, but a little disappointing to me to see the way that Iowa State bounced back or didn't against Arizona State, because I thought Iowa State was a tough team and a tough place to play. But if you want to say the 2 toughest challenges, it's probably been Utah and Texas Tech. They took care of one. Can they now take care of the other? I do know this. If BYU handles Texas Tech or just beats Texas Tech on Saturday, you can almost book them to Arlington. And that's saying a lot. They still have to win at least 2 more games, but I think it's a doable thing. If you're good enough to beat Texas Tech, you're probably good enough to win 2 of your last 3 games. That said, if you don't beat Texas Tech, all is not lost. If you're a BYU fan, you can still win out and control your own destiny and get to Arlington the very same way. 3-1 is the magic formula right now. 2-2 brings way too many tiebreakers into play, and last year 2-2 didn't get it done. So win or lose, BYU still in the mix after Saturday in Lubbock, but a win, speaks for itself.
Greg, we've touched on a lot of like the key things and I guess the general discussion, except for that BYU defense. So let's ask you about Jay Hill and company right now, and just nasty physical corners and like big dudes. I mean, just they're nasty, man. I guess just kind of what jumps off top of mind for you about the way they played defensively this year, and what kind of do you sort of expect being the challenges or maybe some of the strengths in facing Bear Morton and company this week?
Well, Texas Tech's been able to play with two pretty good quarterbacks for a while this year, and now with now they're down to one that we really know a lot about, right? And so I think getting to Bear Morton is going to be a factor in this game. I think Jay Hill, in his third year as defensive coordinator, has a system that kind of is in a flywheel, part of Jay's tenure here at BYU. Things have really picked up momentum. We already knew about Jack Kelly and Isaiah Glasker at linebacker. That was a given coming into the year. The question was, would they get enough strength up front, and would they be good enough on the edges and solid enough in the back end? And the answer has been yes, yes, and yes on that. Those two corners, Therian Alexander III and Evan Johnson, have been as good a duo as BYU's had in some time. Tanner Wall really is a steadying force at safety back there. And Faletau Satuala, who had that pick six against Iowa State, has really emerged as a potential, all Big 12 type safety down the line. If not this year, I think his time will come. And I think the most pleasant surprise for BYU has been the defensive line, because they lost basically all of last year's starting D line. And whether it's, we all knew about Keanu Tanuvasa, the Utah transfer, and he's been good. Justin Kirkland, the Oklahoma State transfer, and he's been good. But then it's the other guys like Logan Lutui and Bodie Schoonover that really added to that group. And I think given BYU maybe even more strength than they had than last year's defensive line when they lost a guy like Tyler Batty to the NFL. So I think whether you're looking at up front, in the middle linebacking core, in the linebacking core, or on that back end, I think you could look at each area and say that BYU's really pulled its weight defensively. And since Jay's gotten to BYU, first year was kind of a feeling out process, but these last 2 years, especially in pass defense, it's been the biggest change maker for BYU. They've been a top 10 team in pass efficiency defense in each of the last 2 years, and that wasn't always BYU's calling card, but it's begun to be, and that's a big factor.
So, Greg, this is the second time or the third time that these programs have ever met, and I'm assuming, even though you look great, that you were not around in 1940 when they played the first time doing that game. So how excited are you for a trip to a new stadium, a new place to do a game?
Very excited, because the only time I've been to Lubbock has been for basketball to this point. We played a game at USA a couple of years ago, BYU's first year in the Big 12 for basketball. Didn't visit there last year. So it's one of the places I've been to least frequently in the Big 12 since joining the league. And so I'm very excited about it. And yes, 1940 predates me happily. The only other meeting was 2 years ago in Provo. BYU actually got that game in their first year in the Big 12. As it turned out, it was their second and last conference win of that year. They did finish 2-7. After beating Texas Tech, there were no more conference wins to be had that year. Texas Tech hurt itself, turned it over 5 times, I think, in that game. But yeah, back to your original point, getting to see new places and new venues and reconnect with new broadcasters and find new fan bases to be in front of is one of the best things about this job. And I couldn't be more excited about Saturday. Game day shows up, and yeah, there's those thoughts of 2008, Michael Crabtree in Texas, and all the hype from that day kind of equating to this weekend. And what a great setup we've got. Can't wait for Saturday to get here. I hope I get to Lubbock, right? I'm getting all the warnings about government shutdown, flight cancellations, and I'm hoping everything goes smoothly tomorrow. If I can get from Salt Lake to Dallas, I don't mind finding a car and driving on out if that Lubbock flight gets canceled. But I got to get to Dallas somewhere or the other tomorrow.
Dallas is one of the affected 40 reduction flight airports.
Yeah.
So
I'm
I don't know,
hearing.
Salt Lake, is that one of them or no?
It's not. It's
Okay.
not, right? At least not from an American standpoint. Delta, who knows? If I have to switch airlines, I'm going to get there one way or another. And if it involves planes, trains, and automobiles, we'll make it happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Lubbock does have an airport, so there might be a connecting if you can kind of. Hopefully, you don't have to go that route, but there is at least an airport, so maybe that'll present some options for you. But as you're well aware, BYU's got arguably the best fan base, but you're about to walk into a place that can contend for that crown as well. And they've been in some great atmospheres. I can't wait for this game, man. I hope you get there, knock on wood. And we appreciate you, man. This is going to be awesome. This is what BYU, I think, hoped for when they joined the Big 12, right? Was weekends like this right here.
Yeah, this is what it's all about, really. You put yourself in a position to play in these kind of games with these kind of stakes. As mentioned earlier, it's never happened, a game with this much on the line. And so, BYU fans are hoping it's a November to remember, and Texas Tech's in a great spot again, for themselves as well. So who knows? Maybe it's a preview of the Big 12 title game. That's also a possibility as well. So who knows what happens the rest of the month, but let's get it going here this Saturday.
Good luck, and I hope if you need someone, you meet a shower curtain ring salesman.